Hello, howdy do. Hey, I have got the perfect summer style. Actually, the unfiltered, the American craft unfiltered wheat. This is the Boulevard version. I'm going to pop this and pour, and then I'll read a little, as I usually do. I have got a wheat glass. It does come from, this is my Crown Valley glass, but work with me. I'm going to pour that. Swirler, Boulevard, all of their ales are bottle conditioned. Just so you know that. Oh, look how that pours. Let me get all that in there. Well, a nice head, hazy as you expect this style to be. Read from their bottle real fast. In time-honored brewing traditions, we've added a small amount of yeast to this beer just before packaging to produce secondary fermentation in the bottle. The yeast, which settles naturally to the bottom of the bottle, encourages further maturation and contributes to the beer's complex flavor. How about that? How about that? Now, some people drop a lemon in these beers. I do not. I don't fruit the beer, man. Very creamy white head on this one. This is really the beer. I mean, it's hard to believe now because this style has kind of gone out of favor with most serious beer snobs, with flavor profiles getting so big on some beers. But this is really the beer that made Boulevard. That came out in 1989. I mean, one of the very early craft breweries, even before they were called craft breweries. We just called them microbrews back then. And we didn't call them macros either. We called the big ones beer. That's what they were called. They were just beer, and these were microbrews. Uh, this one is 4.4%, 14 IBUs, and it is very light. It is very light, even for the style, I think. But by today's standards, but probably not at the time. Early on, and the late 80s, early 90s, when brew pubs start popping up and microbreweries start popping up before it is the fad that it is now. Um, it was really, these wheat beers were really the first big beer. They were a little bit different from what we were drinking. Of course, most brew pubs had a wheat. Some had a American lager style or a Kolsch style, similar to an American lager. And almost everyone had a stout. It was kind of, uh, you know, uh, we had the American beer that we were used to, which is now called the macro lagers, and then Guinness was available. So that was what our stout reference was back then. In many cases, then there were the European beers, the Heinekens, the Becks, the Lowenbrau, that type of European brew. So many had a version of that. But it was really these wheats really that converted a lot of what we call macro drinkers now into what we became craft beer drinkers because of this style. And Boulevard has since done many amazing beers, and this really isn't one that I drink at all anymore. But it came in a mix pack, and I have to say, oh, it is incredibly refreshing, and I can see why it was a beer that really put Boulevard on the map, especially we're talking about 1989. Um, it's light all around, light in body, light in flavor, but a little bit more than the beers we were used to. So, again, if you didn't want to drink a stout, or if you wanted something lighter, but you didn't want that typical, American type lager. Many of us beer geeks at the time drank a lot of wheat beers. I mean, I drank, you know, a bunch of them back in the day. It's hard to make, the younger craft beer snobs understand this, but there wasn't the styles available that there are now. There wasn't a whole lot of choices. So when you had a brewery like this, Kansas City, that came out with some beers like this, well, then now we had some options, but there wasn't the same options that there are now. Wow, man. Yeah, actually, I mean, I'm pretty warm out here. It's cooled down a little bit. It's pretty warm out here today. This really is a good beer for the weather. I mean, I picked up a mixed 12 of this. Um, that had three of these, three of their 80-acre hoppy wheats. It also had three of their tasting room uh, mid coast IPAs and three of their West Side Ryes. And the tasting room beers are phenomenal. But for what this was meant to be at the time, this really is a solid wheat. And Boulevard Brewery does a lot of things right. They really do. Their smokestack series is absolutely unbelievable, and I think they're at the point where I believe, anyway, my opinion is, such as it is, that Boulevard is as good a brewery as any of the larger craft breweries. How about that? Let's just say that, huh? So obviously this is easy to drink because I mean we're not even 7 minutes in, and this bad boy is gone. Mm. Look at that. That bitch is toast. I tell you that right now. Wow. A fine beer for the style. Again, even for the style, I think it's light, but it does do what it's advertised to do. It is crisp. It is very refreshing. It is very affordable. I mean, I can buy Boulevard out here. Usually $6, $7 a 6 pack. You can usually get these 12 packs, a 12 pack of the wheat, or many of the single styles or pale ale for $12 to $13. Uh, a 12 pack, the mixed 12 that I bought was only $11.99. I found a store that had it on sale. I mean, shit, you figure I paid $12 for a 12 pack of fine brews. You pay in many cases $12 a 12 pack or $12 a 6 pack for a craft beer. So hey, there you go. This is Boulevard Wheat. That shit's gone, baby, gone.